This is the first SIP. I'm here with John Tungate. This is Kevin Smith. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Kevin. Thank you for having me on, sir.
It's a pleasure having you on today. I've got a fun one for you. On the first SIP, we like to hash out relevant topics of the day, really get into it, speak openly about our thoughts on personal financial topics. You're probably familiar with a guy named Michael Kitces.
I have heard of Mr. Kitces. Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, last name spelled Kitces. Anybody who's really interested in financial planning should be following this guy. I recently heard an interview with him, and he had some really interesting thoughts on how millennials should think about saving. And I found myself disagreeing with him. And I don't often disagree with him, but I found myself disagreeing with him, and I want you to iron me out on this, okay? So he's really an expert in this. He has a whole company that's called XY Planning Group, which is built around helping advisors work specifically with millennials. So he's no dummy here. So his point is, if you're trying to get somebody who's in their mid-20s, maybe their first or second job, to save 15 to 20% of their paycheck and build that into their whole financial plan, you're fighting a battle that you may not be able to win. And you're asking them to do something that's unreasonable. And instead of doing that, what you should ask them to do is focus on saving a portion of their bonus and then saving a portion of any future raises and automating that savings. And then that's when they should really start focusing on saving. So that's his view. I was a little surprised to hear it. I don't totally agree with that. What is your take?
Well, first and foremost, any savings that can be done should be done. The rule of thumb between spending, or saving rather 20% of your gross income is really important to help you not only get accustomed to living a lifestyle that you can afford, but the math just works out that, later on down the road, you're going to have enough to be there. I think anything that you can do is great. Whatever works for you is fine. Me personally, I like to take that 20% and pretend I don't have it. If I started spending at that level, I would get accustomed to that lifestyle very quickly. And when bonuses came in the door, I would not be as quick to save those dollars. That would be more difficult. I have a tendency to say, look, if I want to lead a better lifestyle, then I need to make more money. I don't need to go into that 20% savings, my rainy day fund, my future self, retirement, my goals, etc. And I think that's a dangerous mindset to get into, where you start just being okay with, well, I'll just spend everything I make and I'll save later. That's a pitfall, and there's obvious reasons why that's not going to work.
So I know some of this is related to income. So people coming out of college have a wide range of incomes. Some people launch into a high-paying job right away. Let's take an actual example of somebody who's getting a decent paying job in their mid-20s. You tell me if this is fair. We'll use an example of $70,000 for a single individual with a college degree who's maybe 2-3 years into a career and doing well. Does that seem reasonable?
Yeah, I think that's a really good proxy. 60 to 75K is kind of the number you're looking at these days for somebody in that age group with that amount of experience. So I think that's accurate.
Okay, so let's do this on the fly, because after all, we're financial planners, right? So $70,000 income, that's $8,000 of federal taxes. I did the math earlier. About $5K payroll tax. So that's FICA, that's payroll tax. So that's $13K in taxes, we know right off the bat. Let's assume $500 a month for health insurance and all those other benefits, dental, vision. It can be less than that for a single person, but I think that's probably fair. So if we put just taxes and insurance benefits together, we go from 70 to like 51.
Okay.
So this has 51 that actually hits the checking account.
Right.
Now let me put it to you, because you're more familiar. what does it cost somebody to rent, not the highest end apartment in the world? We're in Austin, Texas, so we got to take that into account. But what's realistic for rent for this person?
First and foremost, you should have a roommate at all times. If you're living by yourself, you can expect to spend on the low end $1,400 to $1,600 in Austin, Texas on rent. And that's the low side. If you want to be anywhere near downtown Austin, you're well over $2,000 for a single room. So currently, my situation, I have a roommate. I live downtown. I'm still spending $1,400 a month on rent with a roommate. So that's kind of where we're at.
Okay, now put your bills on top of that. So 1,400 plus bills. What does that get you to? Like 2,000?
No, bills meaning electricity, or bills being what are we talking here?
Yeah, utilities, and throw like cable, cell phone, those kind of overhead costs.
I think that's $300 to $400. You know, so conservatively, I think you're just under 2,000 for living expenses and all the nice to haves.
Okay, this is interesting. So we've got 51,000 take home pay, 24,000 rent and bills. What's left for a young person is you got to eat. What does it cost a young person to eat?
Well, if you're good about going out and rewarding yourself once a week and you're not hitting the bars hard, which, you know, you're in your 20s, that's what you do. It's pretty common to run up a $200 to $300 alcohol bill every single weekend. But if you're being even remotely okay at it, I would say you go out to eat twice a week. That's 50 to 60 bucks a time. If you're an individual, if you're dating, that's 100 to 120. So I'd budget $250 a week on dining and alcohol, and probably $300 a week for groceries. So call it $550 a month, $2,000 a month for food and booze and everything else.
Okay, first of all, that's living good. I will say that, and I understand what you said is accurate. If you're going to do those things, but to be fair, I think on 70K, that's a little rich. I'm going to knock that back a little bit.
I would agree with that. I just know that that's how the mindset is of the millennials, that I'm going to go do it and have it. And that's what I'm going to do.
So according to my back of the napkin financial plan here, we only have about 7K left. And we haven't even clicked go on Amazon yet.
That's right.
So 7K left for all things shopping, all things travel, and anything else we missed, and that's for the year. So if you back that into a month, that's only what, $600 a month left after you paid rent, paid your bills, ate, did your going out with your friends, $500 to $600 a month left. And we haven't put anything into a 401k yet.
Nope.
So maybe Michael Kitces is right here. Maybe he's right on 70K, and that's a pretty decent income for somebody just a few years out of school, in my opinion. I mean, not all jobs pay that, of course. And we are talking about Austin, so rent's going to be higher, probably food's going to be higher. If you're in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, I think you could probably squeeze some savings out of 70K. Fair?
Fair. Yeah, I really do believe that there is a mindset that you are owed a lifestyle. You graduated from college, you got a couple years under your belt, and you're going to enjoy it. And most people spend all of their income, which is why I think it's important to automate that portion, to take 15% off your gross and put it away, and then go, okay, I'm going to adjust my lifestyle to this. And you have to do that. Let that food bill, let the alcohol and entertainment, let the Amazon be determined not from what you want, but rather what you can afford, which is automating the savings portion of it. And then you have this wonderful trade-offs. Well, am I if I'm going to go on this trip, I probably don't need to go out to eat as much this week or this month or etc. But those are very uncomfortable conversations for the average millennial because we want everything.
Yeah, I follow you. I think it's tight if you want to live the good life in a big city or medium-sized city. I think it's going to be tight, but to your point, to the extent you can automate, you're more likely to actually save. I think that's fair. Let me give you a different angle.
Okay.
This is the angle I followed when I was in my 20s. Charlie Munger said in the 1990s, Charlie Munger is Warren Buffett's partner. He's the lesser known, but probably equally as influential partner at Berkshire Hathaway, Charlie Munger. One of my favorite people to quote. This is what he said in the 90s regarding young people and their personal finances. The first 100,000 is a bitch, but you got to do it. I don't care what you have to do. If it means walking everywhere and not eating anything that wasn't purchased with a coupon, find a way to get your hands on $100,000. After that, you can ease off the gas a little bit. That's a very different approach than what we just talked about, which was a living the good life approach and we'll save later when our income increases. Totally different approach. I got to tell you, this is what I did. When I was in my early 20s, I think my first job paid $32,500 right out of college.
Mine was $34,800 actually.
Yeah, so we were in a similar situation. I was somehow saving close to 50% of my income. I have no idea how, but that was what I did. I bought a house at 24. I kept saving like crazy, 40, 50% of my income. And that was literally my goal, was to have $100,000 by the time I was like 27 so that I could quit my job and start a business, which is exactly what I did. And I don't remember it being quite that difficult, but I got to tell you, we drank cheap beer. We did not eat craft food. We didn't really go out to restaurants. We'd go to the coast and sleep on the beach. We didn't go to hotels and definitely didn't fly anywhere. So maybe, see, I'm an old millennial, unlike you. Maybe that was more achievable in the culture of the old millennials back in, the early mid 2000s.
I think that's still achievable. I did that. I mean, I came out, I stayed at my grandmother's place. They needed somebody to watch over the house when she went into a retirement facility. I was fortunate enough to have parents that paid for my education, so I didn't come out with any student loans or debt. And because of that, I had no credit card, no student loans. Even though I wasn't making that much money, I put a huge premium on saving dollars. I was like, I want to get ahead. And if I lose my job, I don't want to be moving back in with my parents at 24, 25 years old. And so I did everything I could to give myself a cushion and a pad. And what ended up happening is here I am at 30, and I've been able to invest some of those dollars. And due to the compounding and the growth of the industry, it's really served me well. But you do have to tighten your belt and be creative about enjoying the free things. Go to Zilker Park. Go do the outdoor stuff. That's important. But it's really difficult to get someone out of that mindset if they were living too high on the hog when they were at university.
You brought up something that was not in our little model here, which is a student loan. That could be another $300 to $1,000 a month or something like that. You add that number to our equation and you're underwater.
That's correct. So basically what you're alluding to is that $70,000 a year living in any major city is really difficult to save what you need to save to set yourself up for future. In order to do that, you have to do the uncomfortable things. You have to find a way to be frugal about your grocery bill, your alcohol bill. You got to find fun, unique, free things to do that are local and don't cost a lot of money to travel to. And you have to just be okay with that period of your life. Embrace it for what it is. Scrape by. And then when you start to do better, make more money, save more dollars, enjoy it a little bit more.
Now that we talk about this, I think some sort of a hybrid here makes some sense. Michael Kitces says saving 15 to 20% is probably unrealistic for this person we're talking about. I think that's probably true, and it's probably asking too much. But if we could do 5 or 10% automated, to your point, that would make a big difference. In combination with having a target of accumulating a certain amount of wealth that you can use at a young age, and finding ways to do that, whether it's taking a little bit from your bonus here or there, putting money away to try to get that $50,000 to $100,000 as quickly as you can. Outside of a 401k, that's the thing that people don't talk about, is if all that money is in your 401k and you can't get to it, it doesn't do you any good when you're 27. Because as a 27-year-old, you might need to take a job somewhere across the country. You may start your own business. There's any number of things you might need to do with that money. So I like those young people focusing on having that in a brokerage account in the bank, somewhere you can get to it without penalties and all that. So I kind of like, I guess what I'm getting to is I like both. I like the idea of saving a little, not asking people to save 20 or 25%, and having a target so that at some point in your life, before you're in the family and kids stage, you can use that little nest egg you've built to make a big change in your life if you want to. What do you think?
I think that's fair. I think doing the very simple calculation for, hey, if I make $70,000 and I'm going to automate 10% savings, so $7,000 a year, which, do the quick math, however much that is a month. And then know that if that amount of money is set aside, you do it consistently over a 5-year period, what does that lead to? Assuming some conservative growth rate around the growth of those dollars and how they're invested. And if you do that, to your point, 27, 30, 35, compounding begins to work for you. Those assets double, then they double again. And you can use it for different things, whether it be real estate investments, starting your own business. It's really having a family and being more secure into bringing kids into this world. All of that prevents you from having a lot of anxiety and uncertainty, which what I believe leads to ultimately happiness. And that's the whole name of the game. So,
well, I think we got to the bottom of it today, didn't we?
I think you could flex. I think that's fair. Have both of them.
All right. Both is the answer. I like it. Hey, thanks for taking the time today. We'll talk to you again later.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.
Bye.